So I guess what Bill O'Reilly is doing here could be described as some sort of version of the teleological argument for the existence of God. Maybe not the best version, but just for fun, what is the teleological argument for the existence of God?
Well, telos is Greek for and.
Yeah.
So, so it's an argument having to do with ends. You know, we all tend toward a specific end or goal, and that's therefore there must be God.
Right?
Yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah. So this is what's sometimes called the argument from design, and like I tell intro students, we talk about this, that, you know, you've never heard the phrase before, but the general idea that you can detect some sort of design in nature and infer the existence of God for that is definitely not something you're hearing for the first time right now. No. This is a general idea that's out there in the culture that you can somehow infer the existence of God from some feature or another of the world. So that's the teleological argument. Let's check out Jake. Sorry, I think you were starting to cue it up earlier, but let's check out Bill O'Reilly giving his version of the teleological argument.
Segment tonight, just before Christmas, an atheist group purchased a giant sign outside the Lincoln Tunnel here in New York City that said belief in Jesus as God is, quote, a myth. Then just last weekend, another sign appeared, this one in Huntsville, Alabama. The message says this about religion: you know, they're all scams, picturing Christian, Jewish, and Islamic symbols on the sign. So what's going on? With us now, David Silverman, president of the American Atheist Group, which is responsible for both billboards. So why the insults?
Well, they're not insults. They're truths.
Wait. We just heard Nancy Pelosi said that it's pay as you go. So let's try to get into the truth.
This isn't about pay as you go. This is about telling the truth. Now, if people get offended because we're saying what we believe,
no.
That's not us insulting.
Let's just be regular guys instead of I'm a Catholic, you're atheist. We're just regular guys now, okay? You say something's a scam.
Yep,
on a sign. And then you come in here where millions of people are watching you and say that's not an insult. What does the word scam mean to you?
Scam means it's deliberately misleading people.
And that's not an insult?
It's not an insult to the people. The people are just following.
It's not an insult to the people?
It's a statement to the people who are following the religion. And really, it's attacking the people who are in the pews. Right. Wait a second.
Wait. Now, I'm stick with the insult, because this is certainly an insult in my opinion. And I know I'm not the smartest guy in town. But, okay, so religion is a scam, but it's not the people's fault. They've just been lured in.
That's right.
Whose fault is it?
It's the leaders of the religion.
The leaders.
Of course.
All right.
I mean, this is not brain surgery.
The Pope.
The Pope, absolutely.
Right.
Look, this is not brain surgery, and this is not world news. Everybody knows religion is a scam. The only news here is
everybody knows. I don't know, Mr. Silverman.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I got to tell you.
You sit here and you're skeptical every day, and then you go to church and you get on your knees and you pray to an invisible man in the sky.
Invisible man in the sky.
You think that's a scam?
No, I don't.
You look at a statue
I'll tell you why.
of a man that was built by a man.
I'll tell you why it's not a scam, in my opinion. All right? Tide goes in, tide goes out. Never a miscommunication. You can't explain that. You can explain why the tide goes in.
Tide goes in, tide goes out.
See, the water, the tide comes in and it goes out, Mr. Silverman.
Never a miscommunication.
Awesome.
It was pretty fantastic.
So, yeah. All right. Now, I will say on the first part, I think Bill's guest is being a little ridiculous. That is an insult. That's fine.
I agree.
You know, I think Bill O'Reilly is right about that part. I also think he's right when he says he's not the smartest guy in town.
Yes, I agree with that as well.
Because, okay, Jen, why is this not the best version of the teleological argument for the existence of
God? The tides come in, the tides go out. That is very true. Never a miscommunication. Also very true. But when he says you can't explain why, well, that guy who looks like the devil there, as Stephen Colbert pointed out, he may not know why. The rest of us know why. We don't need God to explain why the tides come in and the tides go out, and there's never a miscommunication.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Isaac Newton, who, like the development of Newtonian physics several centuries ago, was all over the why the tide goes in and the tide goes out as to the, gravitational pull of the moon, and like that. There's a like that one seems like. Okay, I mean, there are different ways you can object to this argument. And the one I will actually say where we pulled that. Actually, no, it's not where we pulled that. It's where we're going to pull. We pulled a different part. We're going to show in a minute. But I was looking earlier at this, and one of the videos I was looking at was one that you cut for your students, right? In your critical.
I did not cut it. I received it as it was from Ryan Lake. So shout out to Dr. Ryan. Okay,
so Dr. Lake cut it and then sent it to you, and you posted it on your channel for your critical thinking students. But it's like a public thing; anybody can look at it, and you're using it as a example of an argument form, which is
the appeal to ignorance. I never know when you're just pausing, or when I'm supposed to.
No, you seem to, you seem to be, catching all of it.
But yeah, we use that as an example of the argument for ignorance. I don't know, therefore it's true.
Yeah. So even if you were talking about something that is a genuine scientific mystery, right? That like we don't, whatever, get into something about quantum gravity or whatever, right? Like, and it would genuinely be true. That like
I don't know X or how to explain X or how to account for X does not automatically mean therefore God exists.
Yeah. I mean, it's you could, it's like on the, that did you ever watch Ancient Aliens?
No.
Of course you didn't. Okay.
Why would I do that?
Because I don't know, it's perversely funny. So okay.
It seems to ruin lives.
So our friend Noel,
the people I know.
Our friend Noel Alphonse went to grad school with. I remember being over at his place a couple times and watching a little bit of Ancient Aliens. And I really liked that they do this thing where all the sentences would start with like three setups, like three, Ancient Alien scholars speculate that it is possible that, there'd be like a couple more after that, right? Before they'd actually commit to doing the sentence that came after it. But, there it would all be stuff like, well, we don't know how the Egyptians built the pyramids, so aliens? And that's not a good inference.
No. No, it is not.
Like, at best, there are things that you like, maybe details that you might not have, or things that you can't fully explain. Like you can't give us the complete mechanics of one possible explanation, in this case that the Egyptians did it. And let's assume for the sake of argument, I know there's probably somebody watching right now who's like a ancient Near Eastern studies graduate student or something who's gonna be like, well, actually we know exactly how they did it. It's like, okay, whatever, suspend that for the purposes of the example, right? Like let's say for the sake of argument that you genuinely did not know how pyramid construction worked. Then it would still be really weird to say, therefore, aliens did it, since at best what you're talking about is absence of evidence for one possible explanation, and you're using that as being by itself evidence for another possible explanation, which doesn't really make sense because, like in that example, we also don't know the mechanics of how the aliens did it, I would assume.
In their alien way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now I believe the aliens built the pyramids.
No, so this is called the God of the gaps. Wherever you have a gap in your knowledge, you plug God into that gap. But as we gain more and more knowledge, then we pull God out of there and stick the knowledge in there. And what's going to happen when we run out of gaps for God? Then what happens to this argument for God, that you need him to explain X, Y, Z once we've already explained X, Y, Z in some other way?
Yeah. And just the fact that you don't know what the natural explanation is for X, Y, and Z doesn't by itself give you a reason to think that there's a supernatural explanation for X, Y, and Z. I mean, you'd want independent evidence of that.
Why do we fill the gap with God? Why don't we fill it with aliens?
Right?
Some people fill it with aliens.
Straw McCollum says Egyptologists pretty much agree the pyramids were built with very, very simple math and engineering and lots of slave labor.
That seems right.
Yeah, I was just going to say that does have a certain ring of truth to it. So, but even if we did, even if there was something like, oh, we have absolutely no idea how they did this particular part of it, that wouldn't by itself give you a reason to favor any particular alternate explanation. You'd have to actually compare the explanations and see, do we do, what philosophers of science call inference the best explanation.
Yeah. Do you have evidence for the explanation you are giving? Do you have evidence to show that it is God who is pulling the tides up and down? Never a miscommunication.
That's such a weird example. Like in Bill O'Reilly's head, is it just that each individual instance of the tide coming in and out, there's a separate act of divine will?
That's a good question.
God has decided, tomorrow might be different, but today it is my will that the tide comes in.
But will it go back out? That's the question.
Exactly.
Hey there, Shabazz. We need you to confirm the alien hypothesis.
Yeah. So again, if he had come up with a genuine scientific mystery, this would still not be a great argument.
It would not, but the fact that he chose the tides makes it even more impressive. But yeah, even if you did choose something that we don't know the answer to, why does that make the answer God?
Yeah, it's very unclear. Certainly, at least it's very unclear to me. Also, I think that Bill O'Reilly should have paid more attention in his high school science classes.
Most likely.
But yeah. All right then. we're going to leave that there. With Bill O'Reilly's credentials as a philosophical theologian continuing to be somewhat dubious.
A separate tiding.
Charles says if God needs to will a separate tiding for every moment, the universe is clearly not well designed. That is a good point.
Ooh, doesn't that mean Bill worships the moon?
Well, on that subject,
yes, we have an answer for that.
We do have an answer to that. We were talking about this, and I was like, oh, so we'll just watch some of the original interview, and Jen was like, yeah, but we got to watch the Colbert thing. I was like, well, I was talking about the argument of the original interview.
No, but we can't do it without.
She's like, yeah, but the Colbert thing is funny. So
yeah.
Fair enough. I will say it is kind of weird to watch this now. I think this was really the height of his powers. So let's do.
My students love it when I play it for them. They love it.
All right, so let's do. This comes after he's played what we watched. So let's play it out. We will. Well, actually, we'll come back. We'll come back for just a second after this is done. But let's do the Colbert clip.
There is a God because we don't know what causes the tides and we can never know what causes them. My best guess is that the ocean levels rise when God gets in the bath and lower again when he gets out. And he takes 2 baths a day because cleanliness is next to himliness. So get used to it, atheists. There is a God, he created the tides, and no one can explain what causes them.
Actually, Stephen, I can.
Astrophysicist and director of the Hayden Planetarium at the American Museum of Natural History, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil, thanks so much.
Hello.
Hey, so, Neil, what are you doing here?
Well, oh, thank you.
What are you doing here,
Neil? I was at
Neil?
the planetarium at my office, and I overheard your confusion about tides, so I rushed right over.
How did you get here so fast?
I have a wormhole.
Wow.
So, Stephen, the changing tides are caused by a couple of factors, but mostly the moon.
The moon makes the tides change. So the oceans are werewolves. That makes sense. Okay, thanks for stopping by, Neil.
No, Stephen, no, that's not what I said. As the moon orbits the Earth, the gravitational force exerts a pull on the side of the Earth closest to the moon, and that raises the tides.
So the moon controls the tides?
Exactly.
So the moon is God. All hail Luna! All hail Luna, virgin bride of Father Night! We must stone heretic Neil Armstrong for soiling her face with his boots!
Stephen, the moon is not God. It's just astrophysics.
And you know this because?
I'm an astrophysicist.
So you control the tides. Neil deGrasse Tyson is God! Neil before Neil!
Yeah.
That never gets less funny. Kneel before Neil.
Yeah.
Every now and then when I'm going to go off to take a shower, I tell Ben, you know, cleanliness is next to himliness. And I never know if he knows what I'm talking about or if this is just one of those Jen's babbling again. Best to not question it.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive post-games on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.